Good day. We are the Group 4 from Bachelor of Science in Accountancy 1A assigned to Chapters 5 and 6 under the Law of Sales. To begin, let me first introduce my groupmates who wholeheartedly contributed for the content of this video presentation. So you may also see Mr. Albania, Mr. Sornosa, Ms. Falar, Ms. Franca, and Ms. Padios accordingly throughout this video. We will explain the assigned articles on our group thoroughly and make it clear and concise. So let us now proceed to the Chapter 5, the obligation of the vendee. Under the Chapter 5 of the Civil Code of the Philippines on the law on sales, it focuses on the duties and responsibilities of the buyer in a contract of sale. It explains the buyer's obligation to accept the goods delivered, pay the agreed price at a proper time, and comply with the terms of the contract. This chapter also discusses the legal effects of refusal to accept delivery, delay in payment, and other situations that may affect the rights of both the buyer and the seller.
So good day to everyone. I am Gabriel R. Zernosa, and it is my privilege to present to you today a discussion about Article 1582 to 1584 of the Obligations and Contracts, which fall under the Law on Sales, specifically under the Chapter of Obligation of the Vendee. So now let's delve into details of each article and explore their significance in the context of the Philippine obligations and contracts. So as we can say that under Article 1582, there are two principal obligations that the buyer must fulfill. First one is to accept the delivery or accept the obligation, and second one is to pay the prices. So there are pertinent rules. Exactly, there are 5 pertinent rules under the 1582 of this obligations and contracts. So to discuss the pertinent rules apply under 1582 are the following. So first one is that the vendor is not required to deliver things sold until the price is paid, and the vendee is not obligated to pay the price before the thing is delivered to him. The second pertinent rule applies under 1582 is that the vendee is not bound to accept the delivery and to pay the price at the time and place designated. And the third pertinent rule applies under Article 1582 is that the buyer or the vendee is obligated to pay the price of the thing when the seller or the vendor comes to him at the time and the place of the delivery occurred. And for the fourth pertinent rules apply under Article 1582 is that in the absence of place as to where the thing will be delivered, it shall be made whenever the thing might be at the moment that the contract was perfected. And for the last pertinent rule applies on Article 1582 is that the vendee is required to pay the even before the thing is delivered to him, if only the time of the thing sold has been fixed when the contract is perfected. However, if only the time for payment has been fixed, the vendee is entitled to deliver even before the price is paid to him. So to conclude Article 1582, so Article 1582 is a fundamental provisions in the Philippine sales law. It established the basic duties of the debtor, which is to accept delivery and to pay the price, and set clear rules on timing and location of this obligation. It prioritized the agreement of the parties while providing a default rule to govern transactions where terms are not specified. By ensuring that payment and delivery generally occur simultaneously, it protects the interests of both parties and promotes fairness and certainty in commercial and private transactions. Article 1583 governs the rules regarding delivery by installments in a contract of sales, while Article 1582 established the general rule that the delivery and payment happen simultaneously or as agreed. This provision specifically addresses situations where the performance of the obligation is divided into parts or phases. It balances the rights and obligations of both parties, clarifying when a party can demand delivery in portion and what happens when one party fails to comply with their duties regarding a specific installment. So the general rule under Article 1583 is that delivery must be in full, and there are two rules or presumptions under this general rule. First one is the presumption of full performance. By default, the law assumes that the contract requires complete delivery of the object sold. The buyer has the right to refuse to accept partial delivery, and the seller cannot compel the buyer to receive goods in separate batches unless this arrangement was explicitly stipulated in their agreement. So the second is the freedom of stipulation. This rule is not absolute. Parties are free to agree that the delivery and payment will be made by installment or by parts. Once agreed upon, such terms becomes the law between them and must be strictly followed. Second is that the rules when installment delivery is agreed upon when the parties have validly agreed that the goods will be delivered in separate installments and each installment is paid for separately. So Article 1583 sets the standards for resolving breaches. So on part of the seller delivers the goods that are defective, incomplete, or non-conforming to the contract in one or more installments. And on the part of the buyer refuses or neglect without valid reason to accept delivery or pay for one or more installment when they fall due. Rules when there is a breach on the said contract. So first one, breach is material or fundamental. So the remedy is to refuse to continue performing their own obligation. Or second is to file a case for damages for the breach of the entire contract. Now, when the breach is minor or severable, the only remedy is that the injured party can only claim compensation or damages corresponding to the loss or defect in that particular installment basis. So now Article 1584 establishes the rules regarding the right of the buyer to inspect goods and determines when acceptance of the goods is considered to have taken place. So this provision protects the buyer by ensuring they are given the chance to verify if the goods delivered match what was agreed upon in terms of the quality, quantity, and specification. It also defines specific instances when acceptance is presumed by law and outlined by the proper procedure if the buyer decides to reject the goods. So the general rule is that the right to examine of goods as a general rule is that the buyer is not deemed to have accepted them unless and until he has had reasonable opportunity of examining them. So acceptance only happens after the buyer has been given a fair chance to check if the goods are exactly what was ordered for or what had been agreed upon. So the obligation here of the seller is that upon the buyer's request, the seller must provide the opportunity and necessary facilities for inspection unless the parties agree otherwise. So the exception here is the collect on delivery or the COD. So COD transactions. So it states that if goods are sent through a carrier with the conditions that the buyer must pay first before receiving the items, the buyer cannot demand for inspection before payment. This is the standard rule under the COD shipment, unless there is a specific agreement or established trade practice that allows inspection prior to the payment. So the rights and duties when rejecting the goods are if the buyer has a valid reason to reject the goods. Example is that wrong items, defective quality, or insufficient quantity. The law simplifies the process for them, such as no obligation to return. The buyer does not need to physically send the goods back to the sellers it is enough that they inform or notify the seller clearly and promptly that they are refusing to accept the delivery. So, duty of care, while not required to return them, the buyer must still take a reasonable care of goods while they are in their possession until the seller can collect or arrange for their return. So that's for my part under Article 13, 15. So that's my part under Article 1582 to Article 1850. Charot. Sapa. So that's my part for Article 1582 to 1584. Now, Article 1585 will be discussed by Mr. Brian.
Mr. Gabriel Zornosa. And now, I am Brian Albania. I'm going to present the Article 1585 to 1587. First is the Article 1585. The buyer is deemed to have accepted the goods when he intimates to the seller that he has accepted them, or when the goods have been delivered to him, and he does any act in relation to them which is inconsistent with the ownership of the seller, or when, after the lapse of a reasonable time, he retains the goods without intimating to the seller that he has rejected them. Acceptance is not limited to express declaration. It may also be implied from the buyer's conduct or inaction. Three scenarios constitute acceptance. First is to express communication of acceptance to the seller. Second is performance of an act that assumes ownership. And third is retention of goods beyond a reasonable period without notifying rejection. This provision clarifies when the buyer's obligation to pay becomes enforceable, as acceptance generally signifies compliance with the seller's duty to the deliverer. Next is the Article 1586. The provision says, in the absence of express or implied agreement of the parties, acceptance of the goods by the buyer shall not discharge the seller from liability in damages or other legal remedy for breach of any promise or warranty in the contract of sale. But if after acceptance of the goods, the buyer fails to give notice to the seller of the breach in any promise of warranty within a reasonable time after the buyer knows or ought to know of such breach, the seller shall not be liable therefor. Meaning, acceptance does not automatically waive the buyer's right to claim damages or other remedies for breach of warranty. The seller remains liable unless the buyer fails to notify the breach within a reasonable time after discovering or should have discovered it. The balance the interest of parties. The buyer is protected from defective goods while the seller is given timely notice to address the issue. So, the next article is Article 1587. The provision says, unless otherwise agreed, where goods are delivered to the buyer and he refuses to accept them, having the right to do so, he is not bound to return them to the seller. But it is sufficient if he notifies the seller that he refuses to accept them. If he voluntarily constitutes himself a depository thereof, he shall be liable as such. So basically, the article deals with the buyer's right to refuse goods and their obligations regarding the goods after such refusal. So, if the buyer has a rightful reason to refuse goods, like for example, a non-conformity to contract, they are not bound to return them to the seller. The buyer must notify the seller of the refusal to accept the goods. If the buyer voluntarily keeps the refused goods, they act as an involuntary depository or custodian for the seller and are liable as such. So the article protects buyers from the burden of returning non-conforming goods while still requiring them to inform the seller, allowing them, the seller, to arrange for retrieval. So that's all for my part. For the next articles, I would like to call Mr. Reynel.
Let me now discuss the articles 1588, 1589, and 1590 under sales contract. On the first one, we have Article 1588, constructive ownership. On Article 1588, it basically says that if the seller has already made or done everything required under the contract and already made the goods available to the buyer, but the buyer refuses to accept them without any valid or reasonable cause, the law may still treat the buyer as the owner of those goods. So in simple terms, a buyer cannot avoid ownership or responsibility just by them refusing to receive the goods for no good reason. So once the item is properly placed at the buyer's disposal, ownership may still transfer even if the buyer physically refuses to take it. So this rule protects sellers from unfair situations where they have already fulfilled their part of the agreement, only for the buyer to suddenly back out without justifications. It also ensures fairness in the commercial transactions by preventing buyers from escaping liability after the seller has already invested his time, labor, and resources into delivering what was promised on the contract. On the next article, we have Article 1589, Interest on Late Payment. So under Article 1589, it provides that when a buyer fails to pay the purchase price on time, the buyer may also liable for interest. This means that the buyer does not only owe the original amount agreed in the contract, but also have to pay an additional amount as compensation for the delay. The purpose of this rule is to protect the seller from financial loss caused by late payment. Money has value over time, and when the seller does not receive payment when it's due, the seller loses the opportunity to use, invest, or earn from what money. Because of this, the law allows interest to be charged once the buyer is in delay, especially after a formal demand has been made. So in other words, once the seller officially asks for payment and the buyer fails to pay, the buyer enters what is legally caused default, and interest may begin to accumulate until full payment
Now
is made.
move on to the last part, the Article 1590, suspension of payment. The core idea of Article 1590, it gives protection to the buyer in situations where there is a serious legal problem involving the ownership of the title being sold. If after buying something, the buyer discovers that another person is claiming ownership over it, or there is an undisclosed legal issue such as mortgage, lien, or pending court case affecting the property, the buyer has the right to temporarily stop the payments. So this article acts as a safeguard for buyers. It prevents a buyer from being forced to continue paying for something whose ownership is uncertain or legally challenged. The buyer may suspend payment until the seller is able to resolve the issue and proves that the buyer's ownership or possession will not be disturbed. So, in short, the law recognizes that a buyer should not be expected to continue paying for something if there is a real threat that may lose it because of someone else's legal
Good day,
claim.
everyone. Today, I will discuss Articles 1591, 1592, and 1593 under the law on sales. So, let us begin with Article 1591. Article 1591 talks about the right of the seller or the vendor to rescind or cancel the sale of immovable property when there is a danger of losing both the property and the payment. So, immovable property refers to lands, buildings, or houses. So, under this article, if the seller has reasonable grounds to fear that the buyer may not pay, and at the same time there is a risk involving the property sold, the seller may immediately file for rescission. So, the whole purpose of this article is to protect the seller from financial loss and unfair situations. For example, Maria sold a parcel of land to John through installment payments. Before John could finish paying, Maria discovered that John was already insolvent or financially incapable of paying his debts. Because of this, Maria feared losing both the land and the remaining unpaid balance. So under the Article 1591, Maria has the right to immediately ask the court to rescind or cancel the sale in order to protect her interests. This is Article 1592. This article also involves immovable property such as land or houses. It explains what happens if the buyer fails to pay on the agreed date. So even if the contract states that the sale will automatically be cancelled once the buyer fails to pay, the law still gives the buyer another opportunity to pay. However, the seller must first make either a judicial demand, meaning filing a case in court, or an authorized act demanding rescission. Before those actions are made, the buyer may still complete the payment and continue the sale. This article protects buyers from immediate cancellation and gives them a final chance to fulfill their obligation. For example, Carlo bought a house and lot from Anna. Their contract stated that failure to pay on time would automatically cancel the sale. Carlo failed to pay on the due date, but before Anna filed a court case or sent an authorized demand, Carlo was able to pay the remaining balance. Because there was still no proper rescission, the payment remained valid and the sale continued. Now let us proceed to Article 1593. Unlike the first two articles, this one applies to movable property such as gadgets, appliances, furniture, or vehicles. According to this article, the seller may rescind the sale if the buyer fails to appear and receive the goods, or if the buyer fails to pay upon delivery. This rule applies unless the parties agreed on another payment period. The purpose of this article is to protect the seller from inconvenience, delay, or financial loss caused by buyers who fail to fulfill their obligations. For example, a furniture store sold a dining table set to a customer. On the delivery date, the customer did not appear and also failed to pay for the items. Since there was no agreement allowing late payment, the seller has the right to rescind or cancel the sale under the Article 1591. And that
Chapter 6 of the Civil Code of the Philippines discusses the legal remedies available when either the buyer or seller fails to perform their obligation under a contract of sale of goods. Articles 1594 to 1599 specifically provide the corresponding actions that may be taken in cases of breach, including recovery of the price, damages for non-acceptance, rescission of contract, specific performance, and remedies for breach of warranty. This provision aim to ensure fairness in commercial transaction, protect the rights of both parties, and enforce compliance with contractual obligation under the law.
Article 1594 of the Civil Code of the Philippines, as shown on the slide, action for breach of the contract of sale of goods shall be governed particularly by the provision of this chapter. This means that Article 1594 serves as the general rule when there is a breach in a contract involving the sale of goods. It does not directly provide a specific remedy yet, but instead, it tells us where to look when a breach happens. So, in simple terms, this article is like a roadmap provision. When a contract of sale is violated, we do not immediately decide what action to take. Instead, we refer first to the specific provision under Article 1595 to 1599, because those articles explain the exact legal remedies depending on the situation. This is important because in contract of sale, different situations require different remedies. For example, sometimes the seller may ask for payment of the price, sometimes for damages, or sometimes for rescissions of the contract. Article 1594 ensures that we follow the correct legal basis instead of guessing the remedy. It also shows that law on sales is organized and systematic, meaning each type of breach has a corresponding legal actions. Article 1595 of the Civil Code, as stated on the slide, where ownership of the goods has passed to the buyer and refuses to pay the seller, may maintain an action for the price of the goods. This means that Article 1595 gives protection to the seller when the buyer fails or refuses to pay for goods that were already delivered or already considered payable under the contract. So the main idea of this article is that once the buyer is obligated to pay, the seller has the right to demand the full price through legal action if the buyer refuses. This applies in several situations. First, when the ownership of the goods has already passed to the buyer, meaning the buyer already has control or benefit of the goods but still refuses to pay. Second, even if ownership has not yet passed, if the price is already due to fixed date, the seller can still demand payment. This shows that the obligation to pay is independent in some cases. There are also instances where the seller may shall recover the price even if delivery issues arise, especially when the goods are already identified, the buyer refuses without valid reason. For example, if a seller delivers 20 laptops worth 400,000 pesos to a company and the company already received them but refuses to pay, the seller can file a action for the payment of the price. This article is very important because it protects sellers from buyers who already benefited from the contract but try to avoid their obligation to pay. So, in conclusion, Article 1595 ensures that the seller has the legal right to enforce payment of the agreed price once the buyer fails to comply with the contract. 1596 of the Civil Code, this article states that when the buyer wrongfully refuses to accept and pay for the goods, the seller may file an action for damages for non-acceptance. This means that instead of demanding payment of price like in Article 1595, the seller is compensated for the loss or damage caused by the buyer's refusal to accept the goods. The main rule of this article is that if a buyer unjustly refuses to accept the goods without valid reason, the seller has the right to claim damages. These damages are intended to make the seller financially whole or at least reduce the loss caused by the breach. The most common way to measure damages is the difference between the contract price and the market price at the time that the buyer refused to accept the goods. This means that if the seller could have sold the goods at a lower price in the market, the difference becomes the loss of the seller. For example, if a seller agreed to sell 100 bags of rice for 50,000 pesos, but the buyer refuses to accept them, and the market value drops to 40,000 pesos, the seller may claim for 10,000 pesos as damages. In other situations, if there is no available, may recover actual losses, expenses, and even lost profits in case where the buyer acted in bad faith. Additionally, damages may also be awarded depending on the circumstances. So overall, Article 1596 ensures that the seller is protected from financial loss when the buyer refuses to accept goods without valid justification. In conclusion, these articles provide a remedy of damages instead of payment depending on the situation of the breach.
Good day everyone. Today I will discuss the Article 1597, 1598, and 1599, which are about the different action or remedies available when there is a breach in a contract of sale. Let's begin with the Article 1597, which talk about the seller rights of rescission before the delivery. Rescission means canceling the contract. Under this article, the seller has the right to cancel the contract even before delivering the goods if the buyer fails to fulfill their obligation. For example, if the buyer clearly refuses to continue the agreement, or if the buyer shows that they cannot pay, or if the buyer already commits a breach, then the seller can rescind the contract. However, the seller cannot just cancel without informing the buyer. The law requires that the seller must give notice of rescission. This notice does not always need to be formal. It can be done through action, such as filing the case in a court or clearly showing the intention of cancel the contract. This rule is based on the principle of reciprocal obligation, where both parties are expected to perform their responsibilities. If one party fails, the other party has the right to cancel the contract and also claim damages. This protects the seller from buyers who are unwilling or unable to perform their obligation. Next, we move to Article 1598, which discusses the buyer's right to specific performance. Specific performance means that the buyer can demand that the seller fulfill their obligation, especially the delivery of the goods. If the seller fails to refuse to deliver the goods without a valid reason, the buyer has the right to go to the court and ask for an order requiring the seller to deliver what was agreed upon. It is important to understand that the seller cannot avoid this obligation by simply offering to pay damages. The law refers that the contract should be fulfilled, not replaced by money. This means that if the seller is at fault, the buyer can enforce the agreement. The court plays an important role here because it will issue the order and may also set fair conditions, such as payment of terms or additional damages. This ensures fairness between both parties and emphasizes that contracts must be respected and followed. Finally, we have Article 1599, which explains the remedies available to the buyer in case of breach of warranty. A warranty is a promise made by the seller regarding the quality, condition, or performance of the goods. If these promises is broken, the buyer has several options. First, the buyer may accept the goods but reduce the price. This is called recoupment. Second, the buyer may accept the goods and still demand damages as compensation. Third, the buyer may refuse to accept the goods and file a case for damages. And fourth, the buyer may rescind the contract by returning the goods and recovering the amount paid. This remedy is also alternative, which means the buyer can only choose one. Once the remedy is chosen, the buyer cannot change to another, except when the chosen remedy becomes impossible. There are also limitations when it comes to rescission. For example, the buyer cannot rescind the contract if they accepted the goods knowing that there is a defect and did not complain. The buyer must also notify the seller within a reasonable time and must be available to return the goods in almost the same condition. If rescission is valid, the buyer is no longer required to pay the price and can recover any amount already paid. The buyer must return the goods, but if the seller refuses to accept them, the buyer has the right to keep the goods temporarily. The buyer also has a lien, when means that can hold and goods until they are refunded.